the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network here at WNJC 1360 AM, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, HighPlainsDailyNews.com, AM, FM 24/7. We are everywhere. We're everywhere. And joining me today as my co-host is the patriot from the Hoosier State. That's Indiana to you and me. But my very good friend, J.D. Manier. J.D., welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
It's great to be back with you, Rick. Looking forward to today's show.
Yeah, we do have another great show lined up today. J.D., what's on your radar screen this day, my friend?
Well, here in Indiana, we are hosting President Obama in northern Indiana here today, and he's crowing that he's done an economic turnaround and created quite an economic miracle up there in northern Indiana in the county of Elkhart. And just to set the record straight for all of this, Elkhart County, which borders Michigan in northern Indiana, near South Bend, near Notre Dame, is the RV capital of the world. And over half the employees in that county are directly related to working for the RV industry. So in the first quarter of his presidency, they had 19% unemployment, which was the highest of any county in America.
Wow.
So Rick, he comes up with this stimulus package, almost $1 trillion, and it was $1 trillion, and he wanted to change, instead of making RVs, he wanted to change to making electric cars, was his desire. And so he put out millions of dollars of government grants to Navistar and other companies up there in Elkhart County to begin manufacturing electric cars. You want to know what happened?
I would even hate to venture a guess, because people may think of me as being negative. I might say something like, oh, I don't know, it was probably a huge failure, losing millions and millions of taxpayer dollars. But I won't say that, JD, because I don't want to be negative today.
Well, you were right on.
Oh,
it did lose millions. The grants and the stimulus money went nowhere, except that millions of dollars were lost. They stopped manufacturing those electric cars because nobody wanted to buy them. And yet, the industrious people of Elkhart County, and there's a number of Amish who work up there, I know that, they continue to work hard. And Indiana's state government cut taxes and regulations. And, of course, we've had fracking and hydraulic drilling and a renaissance in producing oil in America under Obama, in spite of him. Wouldn't you say it's in spite of him?
Definitely in spite of him. He don't like fracking. He don't like drilling. He don't like mining. He doesn't like gas, oil, coal, or anything that produces a flame. Maybe, I don't know. Does marijuana produce a flame, JD?
I'm not sure.
I've heard he likes marijuana, but he doesn't like oil, gas, coal, or anything like that. Oh, but he does like something that produces a flame. He likes solar energy. And at the Ivanpah solar generating plant out in California, it actually caught fire. It caught fire. So I guess he likes that kind of flame.
Well, and didn't it fry hundreds, if not thousands, of birds.
Yeah, it doesn't have that. It's not number one on the Audubon Society list of favorite things. It has fried a lot of birds, and if those same birds had been in a pool of oil, you could swear the EPA would be suing somebody over it. But no, it's okay. You know what, JD? Maybe this is a good idea. Maybe we'll have fried bird. You know, you like fried chicken, right? Well, fried birds. This is a quick, easy way. You don't need a microwave oven. You don't need an oven. You just throw a chicken in the path of one of those rays to get fried.
You know, and Obama claims that because of the choices we made as a nation, Elkhart is a great success. And he's trying to take credit all himself. But it's as our Senator Coates has said, and some of our state leaders have pointed out, it's in spite of Obama. It's in spite of Obama. And that's the story of America today. It's in spite of Obama. He's been a dead weight, I feel. Can you think of any arena, political area, whether it be geopolitical, foreign policy, our military, anything that he's done to improve our country? And I'm not trying to attack him. I'm just asking trying to objective question. What has he done to improve our country?
Let me think on that, all right? And I'll let you know in another year when he's no longer in office. And probably the answer that I have at that time will be the answer that I'd have at this time. And that's zero, nothing. He has done nothing to strengthen this country. He's done nothing to strengthen our military. He's done nothing to strengthen our economy. He's done nothing to strengthen the view of America worldwide. He has done nothing to help this country. But what bugs me is the people who thinks he's so wonderful. I don't get it, JD. I really don't get it.
Let's keep crime in the streets.
Well, there you go. That's up. Crime's up. So
race relations?
It's at an all-time low.
Economic average income for Americans?
Yeah, that's probably in a multi-year low as well.
Oh, yes. Growth? He's the only president never to have a quarter with 3% growth. Not even one in 7+ years.
But he has increased the food stamp rolls, JD. The food stamp rolls are increased. The unemployment rolls, the disability rolls, the food stamp rolls, the Obama phone rolls. I mean, they're all at all-time highs, JD.
And once again, people are working again in northern Indiana and across Indiana, across America to some degree, but it's still the highest labor force participation rate where they're not working. Mm-hmm. Over a third of Americans are not working. It's all about the funny statistics that the statisticians under Obama have come up and cooked the books on.
Yeah.
But once again, the incomes have dropped. Even though people are coming back to work in Elkhart, incomes are nearly down 22% since 1999. And so it's been a trend, but he exacerbated it terribly so. And we're seeing that across the country. Anyway, he's here in my home state.
Well, give him my best wishes. Will you, please? Give him our best wishes. But you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with J.D. Manier and Rick Trader coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, HighPlainsDailyNews.com, AM, FM 24/7. Today's show is being brought to you by the First Amendment and protected by the Second. Protected from who? Try the administration. Don't go away. We'll be back. They say I'm lefty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding. to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know?
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with J.D. Manier and Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast, otherwise known as podcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m., that is Eastern Time. Log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net, or at 7 p.m., please log on to redstatetalkradio.com. But you can hear our show and all the Conservative Commandos radio shows from your telephone. And you don't need an app. You don't need to download anything. You just need this number, and I'm about to give it to you. It's 832-999-1199, 832-999-1199. Call it any time of the day or night for intelligent talk radio. So, JD, what else is on your radar screen?
Well, we've been talking about this for a few weeks, ever since Obama made his tremendous push for genderless school bathrooms. But last week, I'm reading the CDC came out with a report on transgender women. And 28% of these transgender women, which is like Caitlyn Jenner, which is, I guess, a biological male who identifies as a female, 28% have HIV.
What?
And 28% are infected with HIV.
Oh, man. That is a shame and a disaster.
Well, and it's worse. In the black community, the transgender females in the black community, CDC is reporting 56%, over half of them are infected with HIV. They're positive, tested for HIV, and it's just sad. This administration pushes the kinds of behaviors that are, highly risky, dangerous to health and to people, and yet that's the greatest push. I mean, that's the cultural sword that Obama is wielding right now. That's his big MO. And but I don't think people. Rick, have you heard these statistics? I just read them for the first time. I mean, people don't get the background on this.
Well, no, I hadn't heard those statistics, and I think, unfortunately, JD, the conversation about AIDS and other diseases has been swept aside by bathroom issues, transgender issues, and other issues. There are a lot of sick people out there, JD, and I feel sorry for them. There are a lot of sick people out there. But that's not important anymore. It's important that Joe and Tom and Dick and Harry can go into any bathroom that they want. That's important news. That's what people want to talk about, JD.
Another read I just did. There's a woman, quote-unquote woman, let's say, because she doesn't want to identify as a woman. She's a school teacher in Oregon, Gresham, Oregon, 25-year-old school teacher. She was awarded $60,000 in a settlement with the school system. It looks like her name is Leo Soul, and in 2013, she began telling her friends that she didn't either feel like a male or female. She was kind of in between. And so...
Well, what kind of day are you having?
Yeah.
What kind of day are you having? JD, this is ridiculous. And I've mentioned it here before. One of the guilty little pleasures that I have is watching reality TV. And one of these shows is a show called Friday Night Tice. It's about junior league football. Okay? I like football. And they're one of the players, an 8-year-old. This child is 8 years old. She either goes by the name of Abby or Adam. She's 8 years old, and she's confused as to what sex she is. Okay? And the mother, in my opinion, is the enabler here. The fact that this is a child. And where does a child, 8 years old... Oh, by the way, when this child was 5 years old, this child told the mother it wanted to, quote unquote, have a love change. Have a love change. Now, 5 years old, JD. 5 years old? I mean, it's just... Help me.
Preposterous. It's amazing. And here's this lady, 25-year-old teacher, sues the school system. You know why? Because she demanded that they stop referring to her as she, and not even he, but she wanted to be called the pronoun they. They. And so the school administrator said, yeah, but we...
Well, from now on, I think I want you to call me Mr. Wonderful, okay?
I mean, how
ridiculous can you get? How ridiculous can you get? Hey, JD, let's go over our guest list before we get caught up in the next break, okay? I guess I got the first guest, don't I? Oh! Wake up, Ricka. Wake up, Rick. Ricky, Richard, Richie, whatever I want to call myself today, Mr. Wonderful. But at 3:35, Bob DeRigo Jones will be joining us, and he serves as a senior fellow for the Center for America. He's the author of the best-selling book, Remove Child Before Folding, the 101 stupidest, silliest, wackiest warning labels ever. And Bob is going to be joining us to talk about some of his Let's Be Fair commentaries, where he exposes some of the crazy and wacky lawsuits that's plaguing our courts today. So, JD, who do you have at 4:05?
Oh, I always look forward to hearing Bob. I think he was one of the first interviews I remember a few years ago when I started on the Conservative Commando radio show. So I'm excited about that. And yes, at 4:05, we have Twyla Brasi, and she is a president and co-founder of Citizens Council for Health Freedom. And she's a public health nurse from Minnesota, considered by many to be the most in the league of 100 most powerful people in healthcare in America right now. And we're going to talk about freedom from Obamacare. And look forward to getting her opinions and her advice and letting the people know what's going on with Obamacare as we see it today now, on a 6-year anniversary. And then we follow up. I get the privilege of interviewing my friend, Dr. Peter Pry. This is at 4:35. He's executive director of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security and for U.S. Nuclear Strategy Forum. And he heads up both of those, their congressional advisory boards. He's written an incredible new article for the McKinsey Institute, and it's called The New Dark Ages. And he's talking about our nuclear deterrent and what's going on culturally, of course, and of course what's going on with our you have heard him speak before on our show about hardening and protecting our grid and supporting our troops and our military. So I think it's a great show, Rick. I'm so excited, just always sitting in the chair and working with you. And we have some tremendous guests today.
Indeed we do. And JD, let's celebrate here. Let's do a little bit of celebration. You know, the Conservative Commandos radio show, we broadcast right out of Philadelphia. Well, there's something to celebrate in Philadelphia today. The Philadelphia School District will add 2 Muslim holidays to its calendar, and the city will create a task force to study doing the same for the city's calendar, officials announced Tuesday. The 2 holidays are, and please don't ask me to pronounce them because I can't. They are changed each year because Islam follows a lunar calendar. But because of the school year for 2016-2017 has already been finalized, students, staff, and teachers who wish to take the day off will be given excused absences. Now, JD, there are some Christian holidays that schools are closed for, Christmas, Easter, whatever. Now they want to close them for the Muslim holidays. Yeah, I don't think the school's closed for the Jewish holidays or the Buddhist holidays, but they are going to be closed for 2 Muslim holidays come next year.
Wow, Rick, when did those kids ever get to class?
Well, I don't know, JD. You know, right now they probably have their last day of school sometime in the last week of June, as it is. They go back to school just before or after Labor Day. So it's the school year is being stretched by all these additional holidays that are being inserted. I think it's crazy for anyone to send their kid to a public school these days. If I have children, I'd certainly want to homeschool my child. And this way I could be assured my child would not have to go into the bathroom with people of the opposite sex. But, JD, we're a little long going to our break. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with JD Manier, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, home of 2 Muslim holidays on the school calendar, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, HighPlainsDailyNews.com, AM, FM 24/7. Don't go away. On the other side, we'll be speaking with our very good friend, Bob Dorigo Jones. Let's be fair.
You've heard Paul Delch playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with J.D. Manier and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net, or at 7 p.m., please log on to redstatetalkradio.com, or you could hear our show and all the shows that are part of the Conservative Commandos radio network by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest is someone I always enjoy their visit with us. Bob Dorigo Jones serves as Senior Fellow for the Center for America. He's the author of the best-selling book, Remove Child Before Folding, the 101 Stupidest, Silliest, and Wackiest Warning Labels Ever. He is the host of a national radio internet commentary, Let's Be Fair, through which he shares important stories about the impact of crazy lawsuits. Bob has appeared on dozens of national and international TV and radio programs. In fact, he's here so often we should charge him rent. But Bob, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hey, Rick, nice to talk to you, and I'm glad you don't charge me rent. Thanks.
Well, that's because we always enjoy our time with Bob. Hey, isn't June the month you visit that John Stossel guy?
Yes, we are looking either June or July this year, so we're getting very, very close, and we've got some real good warning labels that people have sent us from around the country.
Yeah, well, we'll set this up, Bob. What? Remind him what you're doing on John Stossel.
Well, what we do, we talk about how litigation is changing America. Whether you're ever directly sued or not, you are still paying for living in the most lawsuit-happy society on earth because all those costs are filtered down to the rest of us in the things that we buy. So it's a very serious topic, but once a year we have a little fun with this and show one way that's humorous that we see evidence of living in this lawsuit-happy society, and that's the warning labels on products all around our houses, businesses, and you name it. So because anybody that sells or manufactures a product in America has to be concerned about being sued if somebody gets injured using their product, even if they misuse the product and the company's not responsible for it, they can get sued. So you see warning labels like one on a little silver scooter, these razors that everybody sees in neighborhoods across the country, have a warning label that says this product moves when used. So people send us warning labels like that throughout the year trying to get the $1,000 grand prize, and we go on John Stossel's program in the summertime and let his studio audience pick the winners.
Well, Bob, we have one of those little razor scooters in our backyard. That sucker hasn't moved in years. Gotta be honest with you, it hasn't moved in years.
I know what you're talking about. My son, who just graduated from high school, used to model a lot of these products on TV when we'd get calls from reporters, and actually he's appeared on stations, and he used to ride that little razor scooter down our driveway. He's 18 years now.
Bob, you must have some good-looking genes that run through your family. You're telling us about your son that does some modeling. The last time you were with us, you told us that your prom date was on the Prince Video little red Corvette. Oh, my gosh, some good genes must run through your veins.
Well, I told my son that he shouldn't do what I did on my prom date and get in an argument with his date and have to go home early. And he had a much better prom date than I did.
I did. See, when we were talking about your prom date, that was right after Prince died. We didn't hear the rest of the story, John.
Oh, that's right. Well, we got in a little bit of an argument. I was double dating with my sister and my best friend who were going together, and they decided they wanted to dance with other people than us. So enough's enough. So I guess...
Uncle Bob.
We became good friends after that, and I followed her career as she was on Cheers with Woody and
wow.
Ang and Lethal Weapon, and she made quite a name for herself, so we're all real happy for her.
So, Bob, tell us what are some of the other wacky warning labels that you might be talking about with John Stossel?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to do something that I don't often do, but since you're such a good friend, I'm going to give you one of the warning labels. We always hold these until the very last moment, and we do a news release announcing what the warning labels are for the finalists.
Okay.
Here and every year, and we've picked some of the real funny ones. Let me see. I'm looking for my list right now because I hadn't planned on giving.
Yeah, this interview is going a different direction than what we thought, but I did realize it was, as you were coming on, Bob, I realized it was June, and that was usually when you did the Wacky Warning Label contest. So
yeah, here's a good one. Now, this is on a glass coffee pot that if you see, like a Mr. Coffee Maker.
Yes, I have one in my hands about 4 to 8 times a day.
Yeah, this says, warning, do not hold over people. So an alert fan found that somewhere out in Colorado. I think this is going to come to us from Georgia. And that person in Georgia is probably in pretty good running for either the $500 second place prize or the $1,000 grand prize.
Wow. Bob, you know what? Let's take a break now, then we can get into some of our Let's Be Fair commentaries after the break.
Yeah.
Hold for just a minute for us, will you, Bob?
Sounds good.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with J.D. Manera and Rick Trader, and we're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network here at WNJC 1360 in Philly and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, HighPlainsDailyNews.com, AM, FM 24/7. Check out their terrestrial stations. Our guest this segment is Bob Dorico Jones, Senior Fellow at the Center for America. Mental block.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with J.D. Manier and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast or podcasts of our show, check out our website, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, at 1 p.m., roarradio.net, at 7 p.m., redstatetalkradio.com, or you can hear our show and all the shows that are a part of the Conservative Commandos Network from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. And joining us today is Bob DeRigo-Jones. He's a senior fellow for the Center for America. Bob, sorry for that little flub going into the break. I was thinking that you're the senior fellow at Let's Be Fair, but it's, mine's a terrible thing to waste.
You got it right in the end.
All right. And Bob, let's be fair. A new legal tactic called a non-disparagement clause is popping up in more and more business contracts. And with that, we'll play the first Let's Be Fair.
I'm Bob DeRigo-Jones, and this is Let's Be Fair. Before you use a business for the first time, do you ever check an independent website to see what their customers have said about them? Millions of people use websites like TripAdvisor and Yelp to get reviews of restaurants, hotels, and other businesses. Sites like these rely on freedom of speech laws to make sure that both good and bad reviews are provided, as well as defamation laws that protect businesses from false accusations. However, a relatively new legal tactic called a non-disparagement clause is being used by some businesses to stifle bad reviews on these sites, even if they're fair. For example, a pet sitting service in Texas that uses this clause in its contract is suing one of its customers for at least $200,000 after she posted a bad review online. Let's be fair. Websites that give us honest customer reviews could disappear if lawsuits like this are successful. That's why some states are considering laws that would prohibit so-called non-disparagement clauses in contracts. California has already enacted this protection. Learn more. Visit our website at centerforamericatv.org.
So, Bob DeRigo-Jones, have these lawsuits been successful so far?
Some of them have, because they're not a frivolous lawsuit. And that's why when I'm talking about the kind of work that we do, I like to say that we're not just worried about frivolous lawsuits, but lawsuit abuse in general. And how you jump from a frivolous lawsuit to lawsuit abuse is maybe a lawsuit is legitimate, but is it advisable to file it? We had somebody sued a blind guy once for stepping on his foot, and wound up that it probably could have gotten through the courts, but that's a ridiculous lawsuit. So that's an abuse of the legal system to try to wring money out of somebody that you shouldn't do that to. And this is another case. I'm all for supporting contracts. Contracts are the basis for our economy. Mm-hmm. And some people have been kind of sliding into their contracts, though, these non-disparagement clauses. And I think it's probably against the First Amendment free speech. And I think you'll start to see these clauses fall as they get challenged in court. Mm-hmm. However, if somebody signs a contract with that in there, they can be legally bound to that unless a judge overturns it. So I think it's a bad thing for the economy. It's a bad thing for consumers. How many of us use these websites like Yelp and Travelocity or TripAdvisor to get independent reviews on things? They're very helpful, and that's why I think that this deserved to have some recognition on Let's Be Fair.
Hey, J.D. Manier, I know you and your wife Christina travel every now and then. Did you ever use these rating sites like TripAdvisor and things? Did you ever check out the reviews?
You know, we do on hotels, especially, sometimes on restaurants. And hey, I got a question for Bob, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are there warning labels for liberal Democrat politicians? Do not vote for them if you have any of these conditions: U.S. citizens, Judeo-Christian values, want to keep your doctor, desire to protect your savings. Are there any warning labels for these guys?
Yeah, we get so much literature that we probably should have warning labels. But you know that the people that would write the laws requiring those warning labels are the ones that we elect. So bad chance of ever seeing those kinds of warning labels.
Hey, Bob, we wanted to get to this next one because you were just talking about a blind guy that stepped on somebody's foot and got sued. Well, here is another case about a blind person suing somebody. So once again, Bob DeRico Jones, Let's Be Fair.
I'm Bob DeRico Jones, and this is Let's Be Fair. So you've come up with a great idea for making money on the internet. You create a website and begin making actual sales. You're living the dream. But out of the blue, you're sued by someone who's blind. They say they can't use your website, and you're in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Think that could happen? Well, in America, it already has, a number of times. Recently, a federal judge ordered the owners of a website called Colorado Bag and Baggage to pay $4,000 to someone who sued them under the ADA, saying they didn't provide special accommodations to help the disabled. They also have to pay the plaintiff's legal fees, expected to exceed $100,000.
Wow.
Let's be fair. If the ADA clearly spelled out the requirements for websites, then lawsuits like this might be understandable. But it doesn't, and as the Justice Department works on writing the rules, more and more owners of websites are being sued, even Harvard University. Learn more. Visit our website at centerforamericatv.org.
Well, Harvard University being sued, I mean, they're the ones that graduate so many lawyers. I think that's apropos, Bob. I wonder if it was a Harvard lawyer that sued Harvard University.
I wouldn't doubt it. But you know, this is really troublesome because you've got small businesses, large businesses all across the country being sued, and the law isn't even fully established yet as to how, if you have a website, you have to make accommodations under the ADA. So what the Justice Department is doing is they're dragging their feet on this, and we go into this in quite a bit of detail with a lot of links on my blog, which is bobdericojones.com. But the Justice Department, knowing what a tangled web this has become, and whether or not they think that the White House wants to do this or not for political reasons, they're dragging their feet. Well, while they drag their feet, judges are allowing these lawsuits to go forward, and it's totally unfair to anybody in business today, because it's kind of like saying, well, we're going to play a game of baseball, and for one guy we're going to have 4 strikes, and for another guy we're going to have 6 strikes.
Yeah.
Rules in the game.
Bob, you know, talking about eyesight problems, talking about frivolous lawsuits, I want to sue the guy that says it's shouting to type in caps on the internet. With my eye problem, can't be corrected with glasses. So it's easier for me to see large type than it is small cursive type. So I want to sue the guy who says it's shouting to type in large caps.
Well, I know that was in the news recently, and I think a lot of people do all caps for the very reason that you just said.
Seriously, I have an eye problem.
Yeah.
And it cannot be corrected with glasses because my right eye is damaged. So my right eye sees one thing, my left eye sees another thing. They don't see in stereo. Each of us has its own idea of what to look for. In fact, if I'm watching television and I want to read something off the screen, I have to cover my right eye and read with my left eye. It's very cumbersome and complicated. But especially in Facebook, I get into trouble with a lot of people because I type in caps. And it's easier for me to see, especially when I'm typing, because I don't know the keyboard, so I search in PEC. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I'll remember that next time you're making comments on something I read on the internet.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, let's get to this next one. Let's real quick, all right? Let's be fair. Bob DeRico Jones.
I'm Bob DeRico Jones, and this is Let's Be Fair. Here's an interesting question. If you send a text message to someone while they're driving and they cause a crash, should the injured person or their family be able to sue you? 2 men in Pennsylvania have been sued after sending text messages to a driver who became distracted and struck and killed a motorcyclist. The judge is letting the case move forward, and personal injury lawyers around America are closely watching this because of the precedent it could set. However, when a similar case made it to court in 2012, a judge dismissed it, saying that it was the driver's responsibility to ignore such distractions. Let's be fair. It makes sense to hold drivers responsible for accidents they cause, but it's another thing to sue someone who wasn't even in the car. As one judge said, drivers are bombarded with many forms of distraction, and if you allowed a lawsuit against the person who sends a text message, lawsuits could then be filed against anyone who creates a distraction for drivers, like putting a sign by a side of a road. Learn more. Visit our website at centerforamericatv.org.
Well, talking about putting a sign beside the road, Mary Brockman, my dear friend, just messaged me and said, call me when you drive so I can stay off the sidewalks.
Right.
There you go. Oh.
I'm glad you played that one, Rick, because the judge that I referred to later in that commentary who did the right thing and threw out a lawsuit when somebody tried to sue the person who sent a text to somebody who was driving, that was a New Jersey case that happened about 4 years ago. And there was a New Jersey judge named David Rand who ruled in favor of the defendant, did the right thing, and said personal responsibility will reign here, and he threw out that lawsuit. Now you have another judge, like we said, that brought this or is looking at this new case, and everybody's waiting to see what this judge will do because it could set a precedent. So basically it comes down to personal responsibility. It's a person driving a car makes a decision whether or not they pick up the phone and look at that distraction or if they don't.
That's it. That's right, Bob. Hey, Bob DeRico Jones, Senior Fellow for the Center for America. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work and maybe get updates on your Let's Be Fair.
Yes, they can go to centerforamericatv.org. They can see all the information about our Wacky Warning Label contest, too, if they want to enter.
Bob DeRico Jones, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. Take care. God bless.
Thanks. You too. Take care.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with J.D. Manier and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, HighPlainsDailyNews.com, AM, FM 24/7. Don't go away. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Twyla Braze about Obamacare.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Deltz playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch. ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
This is J.D. Manier and our host, Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's Conservative Commandos radio show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Or at 1 p.m., log on to www.roarradio.net. And at 7 p.m. in the evening, log on to redstatetalkradio.com. You can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Well, our next guest, Twyla Brazi, is president and co-founder of Citizens Council for Health Freedom. She's been called one of the 100 most powerful people in healthcare. A public health nurse, Brazi has been interviewed by CNN, Fox News, Minnesota Public Radio, NBC Nightly News, NBC's Today Show, NPR, New York Public Radio, and many more newspapers and posts. She's at the forefront of informing the public of crucial health issues such as intrusive wellness and prevention initiatives in Obamacare, patient privacy, informed consent, the dangers of evidence-based medicine, and the implications of state and federal health care reform. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Twyla.
Thank you. Very glad to be here.
Looking at a post that talks about the real need for freedom from Obamacare, and the first thing that comes up in my mind is, what about these insurers and the co-ops? They're going out of business. Talk to our audience about that.
Well, I think it's become very clear what a failure that Obamacare is. However, the one thing I guess that I would say for your listening audience is I sort of look at Obamacare as three different things. There's Obamacare, the coverage that you can get on the exchange, which is a government coverage. And then there's Obamacare that everybody really knows about when they think about the penalties, the mandates, the higher premiums, the higher deductibles, the ban on pre-existing condition exclusions, all of that sort of thing that everybody knows about. And then there's the Obamacare that is the takeover of the patient-doctor relationship, medical decision-making, and the delivery of medical services. And that's, I think, what a lot of people don't know about. And Obamacare is, I would say, succeeding in the takeover of the medical care, but it is failing in the part of Obamacare that has to do with, the insurance part, which people know most about. And so the co-ops are part of that. So we've had another failure with the Ohio co-op. I think that makes the 13th failure of 23. And then we have United Health Group, who has just dropped almost all of their participation in the Obamacare exchanges, leaving a bunch of patients behind. So we have all of those things that people are seeing, and those are truly the failures of Obamacare, which, I think if you would have looked at it, you could see that that was going to happen just by the way it was structured.
Hey, but what about 2017? And aren't these reimbursements, the reinsurance, isn't that going away? Isn't that going to increase what we're seeing in terms of these co-ops failing?
Right, and so people's premiums are going to go up next year, and they're going to really see how much that's going to be just shortly before the election. That will probably impact the election. And I think a lot of people, when they think about Obamacare subsidies, they think about how if they would go onto the exchange and if they would buy Obamacare, this new government program, if they would buy Obamacare on the exchange, they might have access to subsidies to pay for their premiums, so that taxpayers would pay a significant or a large or a small, depending on what your income is, but taxpayers would pay a portion of the cost of their premium, and that only happens on the exchange. But there's another subsidy, and that's the one that you're talking about. You're talking about the risk corridors and the reinsurance program. There's actually three different ways that health plans themselves receive subsidies. So they receive money direct from the government according to how sick or how well their patient population is. And those subsidies, which were there to get the health plans to agree to join the exchanges, basically without fear of a financial demise, those subsidies all go away at the end of this year. So at the end of this year is the last time it's marked they'll get the money in 2017, but that's it. And so they have to price their products for 2017 with the idea that there will be no money, extra money from the federal government coming to them to help them out if they have a sicker clientele. And that's why you're seeing the prices go up. So I know the Wall Street Journal had prices of 14% in Florida and 65% increase in Georgia. New York was 24%. On average, it's going to be a significant increase for people getting insurance for next year.
What about the issue of corruption and the unlawful funding of Obamacare? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I'm thinking that you're perhaps talking about the cost-sharing subsidies, which a judge just recently ruled to be essentially illegal. And that is that the Obama administration, even though Congress appropriated $0 for cost-sharing, and I'll explain what that is, the Obama administration decided to spend it anyway. And you might wonder, well, where, if there's no appropriation, where does it come from? But I believe that they can find money in a lot of different places where, basically little slush funds that they have that are available to them, because nobody really knows where all the money is in the federal government. But so cost-sharing subsidies are to pay for the out-of-pocket costs or the deductibles for people on the exchanges who choose a silver plan. So there's bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Most people choose the silver plan, and if you are of a certain category of income, then you are eligible under the law for these cost-sharing subsidies to help pay. So you not only get subsidies to pay your premium, but you'd also get federal subsidies from taxpayers to pay for your out-of-pocket costs and to pay for the deductible. And those subsidies go directly to the health plans so that you do not have to pay as much out of your pocket to get care, so that the health plan will pay more. And Congress appropriated no money for this, but the Obama administration has been doling it out. So a judge ruled that was illegal and wrong, and but allows the subsidies to continue going forward until the appeal is done, because they expect the appeal from the Obama administration.
I was reading some information from maybe your blog, but it says lifezet.com, but you're talking about Medicare and Medicaid services. Those centers unlawfully diverted $3.5 billion from taxpayers to the ACA, and that's so they can try to keep these exchanges still going. And like you said, they're falling by the wayside like flies. And I was referring to that. Once again, it's a case of corruption, and Lord knows there's plenty of that in the Obama administration.
There's plenty of that, and I think, a lot of people don't really understand that the exchanges were intended to be the one and only way that eventually all of us would get our insurance, and they expected the employers to send their employees into the exchange, and a lot of employers haven't chosen to do that. They also expected lots of people to sign up in the exchange, and they're nowhere near the numbers that the Congressional Budget Office estimated would be necessary to cover all the cost of Obamacare. So the exchange was really supposed to be this nationwide superstructure, computerized superstructure in which all of us would get our insurance, and then the data from us getting our insurance would go through the exchange to the IRS, and that's where this was supposed to go. But it has not worked out the way they wanted it to, because there has been so little enrollment on the exchanges, relatively speaking. I mean, they were supposed to have, I think, something like 22 or 23 million people by the end of this year. And when we see the numbers by the end of this year, after all of those that have enrolled but then not actually paid their premiums, after all those get dropped off and all of the ineligibles get dropped off, my guess is that we're going to be around 9 or 10 million. So, it's a long way to go to get to the number that they claim was necessary to keep this whole thing financially solvent.
Here's an issue you're really strong on, as so many issues in this case, but how's the government intruding on our privacy under the ACA and Obamacare?
Well, I guess there's so many ways. I would I would say, just with that being a general question, if you're looking at the exchanges have a database, a federal database. So if you go on and put any of your data into the exchange to, look at prices or to purchase a policy, all of that goes into a very specific database at the federal government. Other ways that the federal government is intruding on our privacy is the mandate for a government-approved electronic health record. So the reason why your doctor has an electronic health record and is using it to report data to the federal government and to the health plans and giving access to countless others as business associates for all of the government regulatory functions that are required. The reason is because the Obama administration put in an electronic health record mandate in 2009, and any doctor or hospital that doesn't have an approved electronic health record or isn't using it the way the government wants it used, it's called meaningful use. It's a meaningful use regulation. If they aren't meaningfully using their electronic health record, then they will get docked for their pay will be docked for every patient, Medicare patient that they see. So this has become essentially a national medical record system. It is not yet all connected, and they want it all connected, but they're finding it difficult to connect, and we can be happy about that, because the last thing that we want is a national medical record system, because under HIPAA, all of these people can have access to your information without your consent, which is different than what most people think about HIPAA. But as a matter of fact, HIPAA is not a privacy rule. It's a disclosure rule. And so under HIPAA, the government can have access. 1.5 million business associates of all these different health plans and clearinghouses and clinics and hospitals, all of these folks can have access to your medical records without your consent. And so the last thing that we want is a system, a nationwide national medical record system, which links it all, hooks it all up, allows it all to share amongst each other, gives it access to the government. That's the last thing that we want. We really want people to have privacy, because it means that their data is their data, and it means that the control of what happens to them is in their own hands, and it means that outsiders can't assess who they are and can't profile them and can't profile their doctor. So it's really important to protect privacy, because it's really all about protecting control.
Hey, Twyla, we'll come up against a hard break. Can you stay with us just a couple minutes, and we'd like to come back and maybe talk about how we repeal and replace Obamacare?
Sure.
We'll come to you live from the Conservative Commando Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, HighPlainsDailyNews.com, and AM/FM 24/7. Let me live. Make my own decision. That's my prerogative. They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
If you'd like to hear rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, or at 1 p.m., log on to www.roarradio.net. And at 7 p.m., log on to redstatetalkradio.com. You can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. We're talking with Twyla Brasse, Citizens Council for Health Freedom. And Twyla, just want to ask you what we talked about just before we went to the break. How can we repeal and replace Obamacare?
Well, I think that's a good question, because a lot of Republicans are talking about a repeal and replace plan. But unless the replacement is essentially getting the government out of health care, the last thing that we want is a replacement plan that puts the federal government in charge of something else. So when I look at health care, I look at it as the problem really starting when the federal government got involved and began Medicare. And almost everything that's happening now, including Obamacare, is as a result of Medicare, and the fear that politicians have about the political consequences of of Medicare being unsustainable. Medicare is in deep trouble. At least $43 trillion unfunded liability. That's twice our national debt. And everybody, as a politician, is trying to figure out how do they not let the Medicare problem hit them when it comes to at a political level. You know, how do they sort of keep it off, their plates until they're out of office. And so that's really how it all started, was when the federal government got involved. And we don't need the federal government to repeal Obamacare and then just replace it with another federal program. We really have to get the federal government out of health care, including letting seniors escape from Medicare. And, there's really no reason why just because we turn 65, we should have to lose our private insurance and go on the public dole and then be beholden to politicians for whether or not we will get care at the end of the day. And I know a lot of people who are on Medicare think that this is, a good program, but they have really no idea. so when I said there's a part of Medicare that has to do with taking over the patient-doctor relationship, that part of Medicare is actually mandating things. That part of Obamacare is actually mandating things in Medicare that will ration care to patients. Actual rationing of care, paying lump sum for things and having the doctor divvy out that payment across the entire episode of care so that the doctor is going to feel a need to limit access in order to keep some of those funds. So I think, we don't need to replace it with another federal program. We just need to figure out how to get the federal government out of healthcare and how to get patients and doctors back in control and in a cost-conscious way.
Twyla, our host, Rick Trader, has a question for you.
Sure.
Twyla, see, this is a problem that I'm having right now. 6 years ago, conservatives, Tea Party people went to the polls and elected like 65 Republicans to Congress because they wanted Obamacare repealed. 2 years ago, they went back to the polls to elect enough senators for Republicans to take control of the Senate. The excuse has been, well, they can't do anything much as long as Obama's in office, but there are things that they could have done. They could have defunded this monstrosity. And now we're faced with a Republican candidate who is for a single-payer system. So I really don't see any light at the end of this tunnel. Do you?
Well, I always believe that the American public is not ever trapped just by a president or a Congress. But it will take probably a lot to make them rise up if we really get that Republican president and he really pushes us towards a single-payer system. I still believe that freedom is possible. It's just that the longer it stays in place, the more difficult it is for people to believe or even be willing to fight for freedom again. But from my perspective, if we do not have freedom in healthcare, we do not have freedom in America. Because if somebody else can choose the value of your life and whether you live or die according to your age or your disability or your sex or anything, right? Your productivity, then we do not have freedom. And once you've lost healthcare freedom and you've given the government that kind of control of your life, then we have a bigger problem. I still think that we have an opportunity, and I think we always will have an opportunity, but to what degree will the American people rise up? What will it take? It would be better to see a president who is seriously interested in repealing. We don't have to replace it with anything. We can just repeal it. That's what it was before we ever had it, right? We didn't have it, right? So we could just repeal it. And we could offer other state-based solutions, which is where healthcare should be, not at the federal government, and push it in that direction. But we do not have to have another federal program. We just need to have people who believe seriously and are committed to repealing Obamacare and then essentially ending Medicare and bringing us back to a private healthcare system. That's what it was before, and it could be there again. But it will take the patient and the doctor working together, and it will take having your insurance be its own separate entity rather than your insurance controlling your doctor or the government controlling your doctor. That's the way we will get back to freedom.
Twyla, how can our listeners learn more from the Citizens Council for Health Freedom? Do you have a website they can go to?
We have a website. We're at CCH Freedom, cchfreedom.org, and we also have a weekly Wednesday e-news, which I have a commentary in, and that's right at the top of our homepage. And of course, they can go and find my name at Twitter, or they can do CCH Freedom at Twitter and follow those accounts. So all of those work. CCHfreedom.org.
Well, Twyla, we thank you for coming on the radio show. We invite you back, and God bless.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And we're coming to you live from the Concerted Commandos Radio Network studios. WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, High Plains Daily News.com, and AM FM 24/7.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. Or in the mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., log on to www.roarradio.net. And at 7 p.m. in the evening, log on to redstatetalkradio.com. You can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest, Dr. Peter Vincent Price, Executive Director of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security and Director of the U.S. Nuclear Strategy Forum. Both are congressional advisory boards. And he served on the Congressional EMP Commission, the Congressional Strategic Posture Commission, the House Armed Services Committee, and the CIA. He's the author of Apocalypse Unknown, The Struggle to Protect America from an Electromagnetic Pulse Catastrophe, and Electric Armageddon and Blackout Wars, these books are available from createspace.com and amazon.com. Welcome back to the Conservative Commando Radio Show, Peter.
Well, thank you so much for having me, J.D.
I must say, I want to have you talk a little bit about a new Dark Ages. This is an article you did for the McKinsey Institute, and it's appeared in other publications. And I got to be honest, Peter, I think it's one of the most seminal works done in America this year, and people need to be waking up and listening. And I want to start out with you defining and comparing the Roman Empire and what we have today is called the New Barbarians.
Yeah, I thought it was time, since we're on the verge of transitioning from this administration to a new administration, to just write something that would take a long view of where we've arrived as a nation and as a civilization. Sometimes we do not. The day-to-day rush of crises and events is so great that people don't stop to think about where we are in the larger scheme of things. And the title is meant literally. I mean, we could be on the verge of a new Dark Ages. I think a lot of the conditions that existed prior to the fall of the Roman Empire are with us today. We are, in fact, besieged by new barbarians like Iran, which fundamentally rejects Judaism.
Peter? JD, I think we lost our guest. So let's just take a quick break here and we'll remake the connection. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with J.D. Manier and Rick Trader coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philly and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, HighPlainsDailyNews.com, AM, FM 24/7. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our guest.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. Or the mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., log on to www.roarradio.net. And at 7 p.m., log on to redstatetalkradio.com. You can listen to the Concerted Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. We're talking with Peter Pry, Executive Director of the Task Force on National Homeland Security, and his recent article titled The New Dark Ages. Peter, pick up from where we left from the break.
Okay, the new barbarians are Iran, North Korea, China, Russia. They basically represent societies that are tyrannies or totalitarian systems. Terrorism, which represents chaos. All of these things are antithetical to Western civilization, which is based on freedom and Judeo-Christian values. And we've arrived at a place, I think, like the Romans did, where our civilization is threatened by new barbarians. And like the Romans, we face a situation where failed states like Iran and North Korea and even terrorists could potentially bring down the most advanced societies on Earth, the most sophisticated societies in our Western civilization, because of our dependence on technology like the electric grid and the internet and the sophisticated systems for delivering food, water, and all the like, all of which can be thrown into chaos by taking out the electric grid by means of cyber attacks or EMP attacks or physical sabotage. Just like the old barbarians of old managed to topple the Roman Empire, which was also a technologically complex society. We don't think of them that way, but they were. They relied on an intricate system of 50,000 miles of roads and aqueducts, trade between cities, so they weren't just isolated city-states, but a real empire, a primitive nation, as you might. And when barbarians started attacking them through banditry, making it unsafe to travel on the roads and interfered with commerce, and when they figured out that they could knock down aqueducts and make cities unlivable, it was the beginning of the end for the Roman Empire. And there's another thing that's happening, and the threat is one half of the equation that puts us at the threshold of the new dark ages. But there's another thing that's happening, which is, I think, a profound corruption that begins with a lack of faith or a lack of confidence in our own civilization, and that our own civilization even merits defending, much like the corruption that afflicted the late Roman Empire, where they had a whole series of bad emperors, and the system was just rotten to the core with corruption, with nobody really caring about the system anymore. The Roman Republic, by the time the empire was fall, was long gone. It wasn't really a republic anymore. It had transmuted into an imperial system where all power was concentrated in one man. And I think that we are at that threshold too, where we basically have an imperial presidency, and we have what's supposed to be a republican system of government. But I think most people would agree And if you just look at the reality of our circumstance today, most governance isn't done by the Congress. It's done by and it's not even done by the president anymore. It's done by a faceless bureaucracy to whom Congress has transferred its constitutional prerogatives, surrendered its constitutional prerogatives, and this faceless, unelected bureaucracy rules over us. The Environmental Protection Agency, the IRS, all these departments and agencies rule over us by thousands of regulations that they pass every year that have the weight of law. And our system is not the way the founders originally envisioned it, even if we were run by the Congress of the United States, because the system wasn't supposed to work that way in terms of the way that the founders envisioned it. Washington, the U.S. Congress, was not supposed to be the chief place of governance. Governance was supposed to happen mainly in the states. Government was supposed to be a lot closer to people and a lot more answerable to the people than it is today. So we have suffered the same kind of corruption of our system that the Romans did by that centralization of power, and you can see it. And I think one of the prices you pay for centralized power is the growth of incompetence. Just like the Romans, in the end, they became so incompetent. The legions that had conquered the world and built the Roman Empire, in the end, they weren't even able to defend their own cities. They weren't able to match the barbarians. In fact, they ended up having to recruit barbarians into the legions. And the empire was so vulnerable that you had the rise of walled cities. That's one of the signs that historians look to as a symptom of the end of the Roman Empire. The cities had to start providing for their own defense because they couldn't rely on Rome to defend them anymore, and the legions to defend them. And the cities were on their own. And it wasn't long after the rise of walled cities that the base empire basically disintegrated into the Dark Ages, where the Roman Empire ceased to exist, and there weren't nation states yet, just isolated cities and towns trying to fend off the barbarians. And I think we face a similar situation today, where Washington is fundamentally incapable of doing much of anything. I mean, it used to be just a generation ago that Washington was tremendously competent. It was able to defeat Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. It was able to build a national highway system, invent the atomic bomb and nuclear power, and send a man to the moon. But in a generation or two, the competency of Washington has declined precipitously. So now Washington can't even take a look at the situation in Syria. We can't even take on ISIS, 30,000 fighters in ISIS. We waste $500 billion raising an army, so-called army, of 50 Syrian rebels. $500 million to raise an army of 50 Syrian rebels, most of whom defect to ISIS. We can't defend the federal bureaucracy. It can't defend itself from cyber attacks from Russia, China, North Korea, or Iran. The federal government can't even make a website for Obamacare that works. So the level of competency has gone right into the toilet, just like it did for the Romans. And the situation has gotten so desperate that people like me and you are turning to the states to defend themselves from cyber attacks and EMP. JD, you have personally been involved in initiatives.
Peter, I want to break in real quick and point out this is a good time to plug one of your books, a new book called Blackout Wars, because you have been at the forefront, the leading edge of trying to help the states, and there have been some successes on hardening and protecting their grids, islanding their states. You want to talk about that, please?
Yeah, certainly. EMP can be caused by the sun. It can be caused by, a nuclear weapon detonated at high altitude. It can be caused by non-nuclear EMP weapons. And if you defend against this worst threat, this electromagnetic pulse, which is like a super energetic radio wave that can fry the electric grid and put everything into a protracted blackout, I mean a protracted blackout that could last years. The EMP Commission on which I served estimated that if we had a nationwide blackout that lasted 1 year, up to 9 of 10 Americans, 90% of the population, could die from starvation, disease, and societal collapse. And we're trying to avoid that. We've been trying unsuccessfully because Washington is so corrupt and so incompetent that for 8 years it has not been able to implement the recommendations of the EMP Commission. And there was even in a GAO report, the Government Accountability Report, that was issued earlier this year, that basically said that same thing, and I was very critical of Washington bureaucracy for failing to protect the nation from the existential threat that is EMP. Well, UJD and I have been involved in Indiana. I've been involved in other states as well, because you don't have to wait on Washington. Individual states can protect their own electric grids and protect themselves from the catastrophic consequences of an EMP or cyber attack by putting in technologies which have long been known to us that the Department of Defense has been using, like Faraday cages, and blocking devices, and surge arresters. And this will protect not just against EMP, but as I said, against cyber, against physical sabotage, against severe weather, the kinds of overvoltages that get put on the grid from hurricanes and tornadoes and inclement weather. And so individual states, if they make that decision, they don't have to go down with the rest of the country if Washington fails to defend it. It's a positive thing. It's a good thing that individual states and communities do have this option of defending themselves. And the book Blackout Wars is basically a handbook on how you can go about doing that, how this was done in the states of Maine and Virginia and Florida and Arizona. And we're starting to do it in Texas right now. Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama have started. There are movements there to try to protect their grids, so that individual states can act to defend themselves. And the book explains politically and the technological aspect of how one goes about doing this. And so it's a good thing that we have this option. But in the larger picture of history, it's perhaps a depressing thing, because to me it's so symptomatic of the fall of Rome. Because in effect, what we're doing is asking the states to build walls around themselves to protect themselves from the new barbarians who are armed with cyber weapons, and EMP weapons, and the ability to do physical sabotage against the grids, asking the states to build walls, just the way the cities of the late Roman Empire had to build walls to defend themselves against the new barbarians. Is this a sign, the fact that we have to go to states and build walls around Indiana and Florida and Virginia and Maine because Washington can't or won't do its job anymore? That's a scary scenario in my view. It's so reminiscent of what happened to the late Rome because of the failure of the central government, the growing incompetence of the central government. But on the other hand, I also look at it as a potentially another way of interpreting it, and both interpretations are in Blackout Wars, is you could look at this in a positive way. It is a potential opportunity to restore federalism with a small f, federalism with a small f, the way it was originally envisioned by the founders. Federalism was not envisioned by the founders as a system where everything was going to be run out of Washington. It was just the opposite of that. The states were supposed to be the source of most governance. So perhaps this is an opportunity. If the states take up the cause of protecting themselves, if they take this vitally important national and homeland security cause on their own initiative and start protecting themselves, I think it establishes a precedent for the states to take back governance on all kinds of issues, including whether transsexuals should be able to use, the boys and girls rooms, which is obviously something that ought not to be coming out of Washington. Obviously, if a state government can assert its right and say, I'm not waiting for you, Washington, I'm going to protect myself by hardening my electric grid and taking the other measures I need to defend against cyber attacks and physical attacks, well, that's a lot more important issue than something like the bathroom. And therefore, all this nonsense we're rapidly drifting toward, where Washington wants to exert control over something as pedestrian as bathroom usage, when they're not even competent to defend us against the new barbarians. Well, this has got to be fixed. And so perhaps this is an opportunity. This may be a positive trend. Yeah, the fact that so many states have been willing to step up to the line and defend themselves and reassert their right to protect their citizens and to fill the power vacuum that Washington has left.
Peter, we only have a few minutes left, but I want to pivot because you also head up the U.S. Nuclear Strategy Forum. You're a director there. Talk about our U.S. nuclear deterrent and how that's failed under Obama and what we're looking at right now. I don't think the American people understand the grave position we're in. I'm so appalled that Obama
apologized at Hiroshima. And make no mistake about it, his speech at Hiroshima was an apology. It was more than a mere apology. When you read his speech, in effect, Obama was it was spittle in the face of the great generation that won World War II, implying that generation, the generation that had to use the atomic bomb to win World War II and to save hundreds of thousands of lives on both sides, both the United States and the lives of Japanese, that generation was somehow morally inferior to Barack Obama himself, the man of vision. And it's symptomatic. His naive call. Not only did he call for a world without nuclear weapons, and we would all love that if it could be achieved. And it's the kind of thing, that naive undergraduate students might aspire to, but it's dangerous in a president of the United States to think that way. It's dangerous in the same way, in that same speech, he also called, basically, for the abolition of war. Well, wouldn't that be nice? The last time we tried to abolish war, and we tried to abolish strategic weapons, was before World War II. So in the Washington Naval Conference, the United States thought we could abolish war in the League of Nations, and we went along with the Washington Naval Conference where we greatly reduced the size of our Navy. Well, of course, the Japanese and the Germans cheated on the Washington Naval Treaty, and that set us up for the surprise attack at Pearl Harbor and for the outbreak of World War II. Gee, I guess outlawing war didn't work. And it cost 60 million lives. And we're in a similar situation today with nuclear weapons because we've got a president who fundamentally does not understand the vitally important role that nuclear weapons play in U.S. national security. And he's allowed our deterrent to so atrophy that, in effect, it's questionable whether we have a credible nuclear deterrent anymore. Our bombers and our ICBMs and our submarines are so old and decrepit that whether they would work or not is problematical. And they are old weapons designed to fight a different kind of war during the Cold War, whereas the Russians and the Chinese have modernized their arsenal. They've got brand new nuclear weapons and missiles and bombers and submarines and a whole new generation of nuclear weapons called third-generation nuclear weapons that do things that have no counterpart in the U.S. nuclear arsenal. We've talked before on your program. You've probably had others talk about super EMP weapons, nuclear weapons that are specially designed for EMP. They don't create a big blast. They're not designed for destroying cities by thermal or radiation effects. All they do is create an incredibly powerful electromagnetic pulse so you could fry the entire nation with a single bomb and paralyze our strategic deterrent with a single bomb. They've got advanced neutron bombs for battlefield use that are clean so that they could use them just like very powerful conventional weapons. We don't have any counterparts to weapons like that. And there are other weapons they've got, that are built on exotic technologies. They are, in effect, 30 years ahead of us, J.D. 30 years ahead of us now in nuclear technology because the United States has, as a matter of law, for the longest time, when Bill Clinton was in office, there was a law called the Spratt-Verse Amendment that prohibited it, made it illegal for our scientists in the nuclear weapon labs to even think about nuclear weapons of new design. Now, a Republican Congress under the Bush administration rescinded that law, but the shadow of Spratt-Verse lives, and the nuclear labs and the Democrats watch them like hawks so that they don't think about, they won't fund programs.
Hey, JD and Peter, I'm sorry to do this, but we're smack out of time. Peter, please tell our audience how they can follow your work.
Hello?
Yeah, Peter, please tell our audience how they can follow your work.
Oh, yes.
We're right out of time.
Sure, emptaskforce.org is our website.
Dr. Peter Pry, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. Take care. God bless.
Hey, thank you. Bye-bye.
JD, got to run, got to go. Take care. God bless. See you tomorrow on the radio.